Hey, Fun Rich Mamas, Mitch Blackford here, and I am so excited to share this framework with you around discovering, redefining your identity, and to do it in just minutes a day for the next 5 days. I don't know about you, but sometimes the idea of taking a new step or trying to make changes just seems overwhelming because you don't even know where to start. It's like, yeah, I would like to change, but what do I even do? So that's why I went ahead and I broke this down. That's got to be one of the hardest things, is to really redefine, who am I going to be in this life? How am I going to show up? What do I want people to feel when I'm around? How do I want to feel throughout this life while you're being bombarded by all the things that you've got to do as a mom, as a wife, as a friend, at work, all of these things? Who has the time for that? So that's what I'm going to do today, is we're going to break it down into bite-sized chunks. We're going to make this something that it's a walk-through step, that it's going to build on each step so that by the end, you're like, okay, I have got this. I can do this. And hey, there I am. I missed you. You're pretty cool. Welcome back. So with that, let's get started. So before you make the first step in redefining and rediscovering this identity of who you want to be, we have to make a decision. Because if you don't make a decision, all you're doing in life is you're going through it kind of like a ping pong ball at a ping pong machine, the little pinball machine, ding, 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 just being bounced around from one incident to another, from one reaction to another, to whatever life is throwing at you. And we wonder why we're so exhausted at the end of the day and why we're not living a life that we really are excited about. Because we have to make that decision first. Okay, I'm putting my flag in the sand here. I'm drawing my line. I'm doing all the things, but I am declaring and I'm claiming it here. This is my decision. And it doesn't have to be like a public thing. This is just in your mind for yourself. And here's the funny thing about decisions. Once you make that decision, you got to keep reminding yourself every single day, because a lot is going to come up that's going to want to challenge you and say, but it's so much easier not to stick with this. Believe me, you are worth sticking with it. So we got to make the decision. And once you make the decision, then action is easier to follow. And it has to have action, because I'm sure you've heard of the saying, the road to heaven is paved with good intentions, or the road to gold is paved with good intentions. Something good is paved with good intentions. But either way, it doesn't matter what intentions you have if you never actually let them out of your body and acted on them, right? Well, I was going to take out the trash. Well, I was going to do that. I don't care what you were going to do. You didn't do. So your actions show me this. So it's the same thing with yourself. You got to become a person of your word to yourself first, and you are worth this. So we're going to make that decision, and we're going to follow through with actions by being a person of our word. So now let's get started on day number 1. What are you going to do day number 1? We're going to schedule it. My girls, I homeschool them, so we got to make projects out of everything. So look at my fancy slide, schedule it. Hopefully it is the right way to you guys. I didn't even think about the fact that it might be backwards, but it's glittery. So, this is good stuff. You want to schedule it, because most of the time we're thinking, I don't even have the time to do anything, let alone map out this person, this magical creature that I want to be. So have you ever felt like if you have one more thing piled onto your schedule, you're just going to crumble? It's like we're this vase, this glass vase, and it's filled with all these rocks of, I have to take this kid to school here. I have to get up at this time. I have to fulfill on this. I got to show up here. I got to do this. I got to do that. And if one more rock gets put on the top, it's just going to either shatter the glass or they're just going to keep crumbling off. So where do you find this time? Well, let's take that same glass vase with the rocks, and now let's get a pitcher filled with water. And what we're going to do is we are going to pour that pitcher of water into the vase. And crazy enough, nothing falls out. And in fact, the water fits into all of the cracks between the rocks. And by the time you're finished with that jug, that full jug of water, not a single drop has been spilled, and you still have all of the things that you need to accomplish with space for you. So when I say schedule it, this doesn't mean you have to make these huge time commitments. You don't have to sit there for an hour each day for meditation of, I'm hungry. I'm thinking of lots of things I shouldn't be thinking of. I'm really not wanting to be here. you know, this is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about look at your schedule and find out where your cracks are. Even if it's 5 minutes sitting in the car so you can be alone, that's 5 minutes. Guess what? You can recharge in 5 minutes. It doesn't take a lot, but this is really important time. You need to take this time for you, because if you don't refill, you have nothing left to be for anyone, and especially you. What you're just bringing is a shell of a person to the world, which might be where you feel like you're at right now. So schedule it, alarm it, do it, whatever it takes. Put Post-it notes up, have people call you. It's your time. Whatever it takes for you to make sure that you are getting these moments, take those moments. So number one, schedule it. That's day one. Go through that calendar, find your times, put it down in writing or digital type. Either way. Day number two, what are we going to do? Look at this fabulous picture. We are going to value it. Value it. So what do I mean by value it? Okay, we all live and operate by a set of values. Most of the time, we couldn't really tell you what they are. I mean, we might throw out some nice words like, family, love, God, integrity. But we really don't know what they mean to us. And the other thing is, we don't know what order that we actually put them in. What? Values have an order? Oh, yes, my friend. Check this out. So for those of you that know my story, I was single for quite a long time before I met Andrew. And when I talk single, I'm not saying I dated, I had some relationships, but I wasn't married. It was like, no, it was desert dry, like bone dry, like I needed water. It was bad, right? Well, what I didn't understand was my very first value, the highest one in my priority ranking, was independence. Duh. Go figure I was single. Now, don't get me wrong. Independence is not a bad value. I mean, our nation values it. If you live in the United States, independence, number one, right? There are some very good qualities about independence. The way I was using it, though, and defined it in my life was I had to be able to do everything by myself. I couldn't depend on anyone. Well, gee, I wonder why you're single. Because you have no space for anyone else to come into this life. Even though I had family and love on that list, independence was like at the top. It was like, what's up? What's up? Love, I will crush you. Take that love. Get back down there. Okay. So I know it's kind of a funny little representation, but that's what's going on inside of us if we don't actually get intentional about what our values are. So this one might take you a little bit more time, right? You might need 2 chunks of 5 minutes here and there, but we need to figure out what are the values to you that you want to have, and what order do you want to place them in so that they dance and flow with each other instead of beat each other up and cause chaos in your life. So we're going to write those values down. We're going to define what they mean to you and why they're important to you, because love to one person may mean something to another person. So don't just say love. That's too vague. Love. What do I mean by love? And why is this important to me? And then you can start to realize, okay, this is what I want to be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. And the cool byproduct of knowing what your values are and understanding what they mean to you and in what order they fall in your life is it makes decision-making easy. Someone comes up to you with a question, hey, can you do this for me? Let me check my values list. That would be a big no. Doesn't fit in. Not a problem. It's not that I'm being mean or anything. It just doesn't fit in with the priorities. So now you don't have to be making decisions from people pleasing or from passiveness. You're making decisions out of authentic power and out of your values. You know, so it might be the opposite. Someone comes to you and you're like, oh yeah, I want more of that. That totally fits with who I am. So values, value it. Now that we have our values, we have our jumping off point into getting into how do we want to show up. So we are going to reflect on it. Reflect on it. Something that has happened to me in the past, and this may have happened to you. This isn't everyone, but there are a good group of people that you'll try to do something like this, and people will say, okay, we're going to picture the future. Close your eyes. See yourself 5 years from now. 5 years. What does it look like? 10 years from now, 10 years, what does it look like? And the whole time you're sitting there going, I don't see anything. Like, nothing's coming to mind. And then there's these other people that are like, oh, I see it, I see it. Well, that's because you happen to be past oriented. And when I say past oriented, it doesn't mean a bad thing like you live in the past and you're stuck in the past. No, it's just that's where you're able to find your resources. That's what fuels you, right? Going back to the past and looking at things in your past. Now you can bring it into your future. So we are going to reflect on it. And this is for everyone, okay? The first thing you're going to do is you are going to write down at least 5 rock star moments that you have had in your life. And it doesn't matter how big, how small, whatever it was, around what age you were. If it was a moment where you're like, yes, that was me, write that puppy down. Get it on the paper. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at what are the memories that make us smile, that just brings joy to your heart, that you love thinking about. Write those memories down and who you were in those moments, like what it meant to you, how you showed up. And then the third thing we're going to do is we're going to look back to the people in our lives and who were the ones that you admired and why. What were the qualities of those people that made you look up to them, that made you admire them, want to emulate them, spend time with them? This is going to be your reflect it portion, okay? Now save this list because we're going to use it later, but that's for day 3. Now we're going to move on to day 4, where we are going to envision it. Yes. Loving all those moments in the past is great, but if we don't push that energy of it from it into the future, it doesn't do us a whole lot of good. And then there's others of you that are like, finally, I hate that past stuff. I've been waiting for the future stuff. Here you are. Here it is. This is your chance, but we're good. We're doing this for everyone. So now we need to have a destination of who it is that we want to be, right? Have you ever tried driving somewhere without an actual address? You just type in the GPS, I want to go out. And your GPS is like, drive 2 feet. You are now out of the house. What else do you want from me? We need to have some sort of direction in which we're going. So this is the fun, dreaming out. There is no wrong answer. Take some time and just write down who you see yourself being in the future. And if you don't see it, who do you hear? What are the words you hear yourself saying? What do you feel? How are you interacting? What do you look like? Like, how do you show up when you walk into a room? What are you wearing? Picture a situation that you normally have problems in, and then picture the future you, the one that you want to create. How would she handle it? What is she doing? And just start writing it all down. Where there's just no judgment zone, right? We're just putting it down on paper. No matter how big, how small, we are writing all of it down. And if it came to your mind, put it down. If it's about where you want to live, put that down. It's all going to connect. But we've got to envision it. We have to give ourselves the destination so that our mind is like, oh, that's where I'm going. That's who I want to be. Okay. And now we come to day 5. And that is build it. Build it. We are going to build out the blueprint of our identity. So how are we going to do this? We are going to take the top 3 things from when we reflected on it from our past, write it down. And the top 3 things from when we envisioned it, saw our future, and write it down. The top 3 things that just were like, ooh, I like that. I like that one. Ooh, I want some more of that. Write it down. And we're going to look over that list and make notes. What is it about this that I like? What is it about that that's important to me? How do I relate to this? How do I want to relate to this? Okay? And then here comes the fun part. Are you ready? You're going to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 for each of those items. Don't make me do it. Now I just want to crumple it up and walk away. See, I told you I can't be this person. Okay, stop. Yes, you can. Because now we have the blueprint. We have the map for success for you. And there's probably going to be some areas when you rated yourself, you're like, dude, I'm an 8. That's really, really good. I'm already mastering that. I didn't even realize, but when I looked at it and evaluated in this way and actually took stock of my life, I realized I am killing it in that area. Score. This area, maybe a 4, possibly a 3, not so much. So we look at, zoom down to what is the area that has your lowest score, and now you know where you're going to start working first. I don't have to do it all at once. I just narrow in on one at a time, and it's telling you which one to do. And what's cool is now we have the values that will help back it up and make those decisions about how this part of you will respond and react in the world. You have the time each day that you've scheduled to give yourself space to let this part of you out. You have the recipe from your past and the vision of the future that are going to help inform and guide you on the actions you need to take in order to increase this area of your life. And when you have clarity, suddenly action becomes so much easier. Opportunity shows up in ways that you've never seen before, and people start to react to you in a different way because you're showing up in a different way. Like boundaries that you never had are suddenly like definitive and no one crosses them. It's awesome. It's awesome. And sometimes you might step back a little bit and you got to pull yourself back on. That's okay. That's part of the make the decision every day. As long as you're making action steps every single day, you're making forward progress. Little action step each day adds up, adds up, adds up, adds up until suddenly you're like, whoa, hey, I got this down. Let's go back to the list, find out part number 2 of me that I really want to embrace and bring out. Where was I low? What can I do now? And in 5 days, with just a few minutes here and there, you have created the blueprint of your identity, of who you are going to show up as in this world, who you're going to live as, how people are going to experience you, and who you're going to model to those beautiful babies that have been watching you their whole lives to see who they get to be. And here are a couple of side notes. Sometimes we have seasons of our life where it has certain demands on us where, yeah, maybe this part of me isn't going to show up as often. And that's okay. That's okay. Just recognize it, be aware of it, and try to create a time frame around it. Okay, well, I know that from now for the next 3 months, I'm probably not going to be able to fit this in. So for example, when I launched this podcast, I knew that it was going to take a lot of time up front to get this thing rolling, to learn the editing, to do all the emails, all the posts, all the things that come with it, right? And so I realized, okay, the time that I normally take in the mornings to work out, I'm probably going to be switching out with this because this is an important thing that I want to create in my life. And so I'm okay with that trade-off. And it doesn't mean I have to give it up completely. So I found cracks in my day where I could fit in movement so I still get that energy from it. Okay. And then I have a certain time frame where I get to and I'm like, now I reassess. Okay. Do I still need to switch out this time, or can I incorporate my workouts? Maybe instead of 5 days a week, I do 3 days a week, and that's still giving me what I need until I work back up to where I want to be. But now at least I feel good about it because I know that it's not going to be forever, that I'm going to lose that part of me. I know it's temporary. And in the meanwhile, I'm still making sure, like, when I brush my teeth, I do squats and I do side lift. It's kind of silly, but it makes me brush my teeth for 2 minutes and I'm getting movement in. When I'm homeschooling the girls, when they're writing their stuff, I get up and I start doing squats. I'll do push-ups against the counter because I'm getting movement in because it's important to me. And although I'm not getting that specific time in, I'm still getting pieces in. Do you see how this works? So it is okay if there's a season that you need to do this. Just be aware of it and plan for it and work around with it, okay? And then the most important part. Celebrate your wins. When you realize, hey, you know what? I have been doing really well in this area. I'm feeling good about it. Do something to celebrate it. I don't care if it's even just a tiny thing or a big thing. It doesn't matter. Celebrate it because then you're going to lock that into your body, your mind, your soul. It's going to be like, when I do this, I get a prize. Let's do it some more. Like, you know how it works. If your kid does something good and you give them a lollipop or whatever it is, whatever, they're like, oh, what else can I do for you, Mom? Huh? It's just the automatic function of us. We love to get rewarded. So make sure you're celebrating yourself and rewarding yourself. And it doesn't have to be something extravagant. It could literally be like, today I am going to take 30 minutes and sit on the patio and read my favorite book. And that is my reward. Or whatever it is. You know what's right for you. The important thing is celebrate it. Take that time, own it, pat yourself on the back, enjoy it. so that it starts to sink in your body and your soul and your mind are like, yes, yes, this is who I am. So now you have action steps that you can take and a clear, defined roadmap of how to do it. Because it is so important that you don't get overwhelmed by just one role in your life. I don't know if I started this out, but on average, kids say mom, mommy, mama 105 times per day or every 6.5 minutes. And multiply that by the amount of kids you have. You hear it a lot. And instead of being resentful of it and overwhelmed by it and tired by it and guilted by it because you feel resentful and overwhelmed and tired, feel empowered by it. Feel glad because at least most of us had these kids because we wanted them. We wanted to have the joy. We wanted to have this amazing experience that you can only have as the role of mom. And it doesn't mean we have to sacrifice the rest of who we are. So make sure you download your workbook to go with this. If you're watching this video and you haven't gotten the guide, you can get it at funrichmom.com, funrichmom.com. And that is your 5-day Redefine guide. It's going to go over everything that I just covered here. You can print it out and fill it out. So you don't even have to find a notebook or anything like that. And let me know, what were the steps that really helped move you forward? And what did you get excited about rediscovering about yourself? I would love to hear your journey. So with that, make it fun and make it rich. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.